Hey there. If you're a founder and you're watching a channel like this, you probably have noticed fundraising is hard. Getting that money from investors is a long, arduous process. So many founders are looking for help. They're reaching out to people to make that process happen faster. So unsurprisingly, a whole cadre of people specializing on that, fundraising facilitators, have sprung up to address that need. Now, the problem is, the vast majority of them appear to be ineffective at best and damaging at worst. So I want to talk to you about what kind of red flags you should be looking for in people who are going to help you with your fundraising and how that works, what the rules are around that, and how to spot the good ones from the bad ones. Welcome to Feel the Boot, the science of startups. I'm your host, Lance Cottrell, and I'm here to help you along your arduous journey, that vertical learning curve you need to climb to become successful as a startup. I know what it's like. I've been there myself, and I've helped countless other founders along their journeys. This episode is part of our playlist on fundraising. We've done a lot of episodes on fundraising, and I'll put up a card in the corner and a link down in the description so you can see all the rest of the material we've done on this. We also have all of our episodes on all topics available as podcasts and as articles, so you can take this information on the go or get them as written materials. However your brain best ingests this information, all our content is available in all three formats. I also encourage you to come get one-on-one advising from me. Sometimes you have very specific or unique situations or some topic that I haven't covered yet. I encourage you to come sign up. I have a number of different options for advising. You can read about all of them over at feeltheboot.com/advising. I have seen fundraising facilitators from both sides of the table. As an advisor, I've worked with many companies that are trying to employ fundraising facilitators. I have been a client of the facilitators. I'm on their mailing list and getting sent the opportunities that they're being paid to promote on a continual basis. I've even had to deal with a fraudster who almost did substantial business damage to my company because of their unscrupulous activities. So when I was thinking about doing this episode, I reached out to a bunch of other people that I know in the startup community and asked them, what fraction of people working in this fundraising agent or fundraising facilitator kind of business, kind of space, were legitimate? How many of them were actually generating value? And the consensus number I got was that something like 90% of the people out there are producing zero or indeed negative value for the company. They hurt you. They take your cash and give you nothing in return or actually damage your reputation out in the marketplace. And founders are easy to take advantage of because, on the whole, they are desperate because of the startup paradox that I talked about several episodes ago, right? You need money to generate your product. You need product to get that money. No one wants to invest until that exists. The facilitators know that, and they will promise to be able to cut through that knot for you. And the reality is they rarely can. Broadly speaking, there are two categories of these kinds of facilitators. The first work on a fee-for-service model, and the others work on a success fee model. With the fee-for-service model, you're paying these people regardless of the outcome. It's work for hire. And there's kind of two sorts of work that they will do. The first is people who are going to help you prepare to fundraise. So these are consultants who will help you with your pitch deck or your financial projections or graphics, materials, whatever that may be. That is a very legitimate thing to do, right? If you don't have in-house skills to make an attractive looking deck and the templates that are out there aren't really working for you, spending a little money to have someone come in and take your deck and make it sing can be money well spent. They can even coach you through your presentation process, make sure you deliver effectively, right? That can also be good. Beware of letting them actually do the deck for you from scratch. I've almost always seen this turn out that they kind of miss the point of your company. You understand why your company exists and what you're doing. That always needs to come through really clearly. The other category of fee-for-service people are people who have large numbers of potential investors that they can send your deck to. Now, they can't help with a lot of things, right? They can't do due diligence. They can't be actually endorsing you, but they can put you in front of their mailing list of potentially interested investors. I've got to say, being on the other side, they will tell you that this is a highly interested, motivated group of investors with whom they have a personal relationship. That is not true of any of the ones that I'm involved with as an investor. There's someone who reaches out to me and said, hey, are you interested in deal flow of this sort? And I'll say, yes, I would be happy to take a look at those companies. And then the fire hose starts and they're sending lots and lots of companies at me, most of which I think are terrible, and I say no to very quickly. Now, I do at least glance at them, so they are providing some value. But this whole idea that they've got this carefully curated list of amazing investors who are just waiting for the opportunity to take a look at your company, that's just fantasy. Another problem with these fee-for-service introducers is that as soon as you've paid them, there is no longer any alignment in your interests. They already have money in hand, so they've been paid whether or not anyone invests in your company. Now, in some cases, they will be looking to do this on a retainer basis. So they'll have an ongoing effort to go and recruit people for you. In some ways, that's almost even worse because now their incentives are to keep that rolling for as long as they possibly can. They want to drag you out and keep you paying those retainer fees whether or not they deliver someone. I mean, they're perfectly happy to deliver an investor if they can. If that works out, that's awesome and it helps increase their reputation in the space. But if they don't, it's really not that bad for them. Many founders prefer to work with agents who are working for a success fee. So they only get paid if you're successful in raising your next round. So that seems like a much better deal. Your interests are aligned. There are a lot of regulations surrounding these kind of opportunities. The first of which is that the person doing that work must be a registered broker-dealer. They need to be registered with FINRA and have all of that. Many people will approach you and offer to do things on a success fee basis who don't actually have those certifications. And that can be really bad because if things don't necessarily go to plan, the investors might want their money back. And if the person who was involved in placing your deal wasn't a registered dealer broker, they have a cause to request their money back even, after all of this time has passed, and that can be catastrophic to your business. And it could also cause trouble in due diligence in the future. If someone's looking at your cap table and who's been involved and how you did all your fundraising, and an investor sees that you have someone who was brought in by someone who doesn't have the right registrations, that leaves a murky spot on your cap table and can frighten away many potential investors. Now, you'll sometimes see people try to get around this rule by saying, well, we're not looking for a success fee, but we will refund your fees if we don't succeed. And the SEC has decided that's a success fee. If they've promised that up front in writing or in any clearly articulated way, then it's a success fee and all of the rules apply. So make sure you ask about a person's placement agent or funding facilitators registrations to make sure that they can legally do this work for you. Most companies that are working on success fees want to work on bigger deals. They don't want to be raising a couple $100,000 for someone. The good ones want to be raising tens of millions or more for the companies they're working with because their fees come out of that. The bigger the deal they can do, the more money they make. So it is a little suspicious when you see someone willing to work on a success fee for a $200,000 to $500,000 raise, right? They're just never going to get paid that much for all the work because it is about as much work to raise $100,000 as it is to raise $1 million. That also leads to another problem with success fees is that they are highly motivated to inflate your valuation. That sounds good, but it isn't necessarily. And I did a whole episode on why high valuations can be bad. But the short answer is they'd rather put out a really high valuation and then have most of their clients fail to raise, but then one does at this extremely inflated valuation, they rake in a whole bunch of money. So they're going to push for valuations that are not necessarily realistic, that leave a very high probability that you have a down round in your next round, which can be catastrophic for you. So you want to make sure that they're being realistic. This is one of the things I've seen with a lot of companies I advise, where the agent will come in and do a calculation of the valuation of the company, and the company's basically at the pre-seed level. Maybe they've got an MVP in place, and this person's saying, absolutely, we can get you money at a 20 million pre-valuation. No way, right? That's insane, but they're really pushing that. They're claiming they can do this, and then it takes forever because, in fact, no one wants to invest at that, and they're passing up other investment opportunities, other angels who might have been able to come in at a more attractive valuation because they've been locked into these people. And often these deals come with exclusivity. Right? Once you sign with this person, they get their take on any deal you close, no matter what. So that can be extremely damaging, especially if this drags out. Right? They said, oh, absolutely, we're going to get you this investment at this really high valuation within 6 months. But the contract is a 2-year contract, and any deal you do within that 2 years, they get a piece of. And as soon as they see that you're not going to raise money at this valuation they were hoping would work, they can just sit back and wait for you to raise money because you need to, and then take their cut of it, whatever that may be, because they don't want to waste any more time. And that's kind of a crappy situation. One thing to remember about all of these people who want to help you fundraise is that none of them in general have a fiduciary duty to you. They are not required to work in your best interests or emphasize benefits to you over benefits to themselves, over benefits to some related third party. This can be a risky situation. So really important to make sure you understand the ethics of the people you're working with. I highly recommend that you seek out other founders that they've worked with, ask them for references, but also see if you can find some that they've worked with that maybe they don't provide names to you, because obviously they're going to only provide the names of people that had good experiences. Another weird twist is that investors, particularly VCs, hate success fees. And the reason we hate success fees is we want to see every dollar that we give you go directly to growing your business. But if you've got someone with a 10% success fee, and that's not at all uncommon, then that means only 90 cents of every dollar I give you is going to grow the company, and that other 10 cents is going to go to someone completely different, which in no way benefits me. As the investor, I want to see all the money I put in go towards that. So if you're working with investors who have that kind of mindset, you may want to be looking at a fixed fee model. Now, the funny thing is, even if the total fees are the same, the fixed fees were paid up front, they're already sunk costs. And so at the point at which I invest, all of my money is going into it, even though you started out a little bit underwater because of this other expense you had. Ideally, that would be reflected in the valuation, but realistically, I think it's just a psychological quirk that people are more okay with the money coming out first than having coming out of the dollars that they hand you. Before I move on to some more of the red flags around this, I want to take a moment to ask you to do the usual on YouTube. Like this episode, subscribe, ring that bell to be notified every time new episodes come out. But of course, that notification doesn't work real well, so I also encourage you to go to feeltheboot.com and subscribe to Bootprints. I put out a newsletter every time I release a new episode, so you're always guaranteed to get notified. That also provides you access to my free advising, so you can sign up for my office hours to get any question you might have about your startup answered. I also have other forms of paid advising and advising for equity. Those options are all spelled out on the website at feeltheboot.com/advising. This content, of course, also as a podcast and as articles, so whatever form you want it, you can get it to make sure you're successful on your journey. Let's drill down on those red flags. And the first one I've already mentioned a little bit, it is exclusivity. Long-term exclusivity is extremely dangerous, especially if it is decoupled from performance, right? They don't actually need to do the work to get paid. Now, some level of exclusivity is fair. They're doing a bunch of work on spec. They don't want to do that work and then not get paid. But that needs to be of a fairly short period and realistic. And ideally, have some carve-outs. If you have other deals in the pipeline, other opportunities, it would be good to be able to take those off the table. So let's say you're doing $1 million raise, but you have already got commitments or soft circle people for $250,000. You really want to say you get paid on the $750 that you add in on top of this, but you don't get paid on the $250 that I already brought to the table. So get really clear on that. And of course, the long-term exclusivity really murders you when these people sort of generally give up and are just waiting for a free payday. The next thing to look out for is fundraising facilitators that are just going to spam investors. Make sure you get some details about the kinds of relationships they have, how they approach people, what kind of conversion rates they see with the emails they send out, because I certainly see huge numbers of these. And with some of the providers, it's actually a negative. Right? I've seen the kind of quality that they're sending me over time. They're doing zero vetting, which suggests that the people that are working with them are pretty desperate. If they're desperate, they may be desperate for a reason, right? The best deals tend to have a lot of people who are interested in them. So this almost gives me a way of looking for deals that I kind of want to avoid if I see them coming through other channels. So do make sure that the people you're working with are attentive to quality. They should be evaluating you. They should be giving feedback on your deck. They should be questioning you on your assumptions. It's almost like going to an investor in advance. It's like an agent for a book. They should be looking at the quality of what they're representing. If you're not getting those kind of questions, then that suggests these people are just going to do a spray and pray and hope someone has some interest in this, but they're not actually going to do much work for you. Which is not to say that all companies work this way. One of the founders I'm engaged with has an interesting fundraising facilitator. Their process is to work with the founder, who they have vetted, and then they give the founder the list of potential investors, and they work together to curate that list to identify those who would be most interested in what this company is doing and potentially in investing in it. They then only target that highly select group of investors who I suspect are then much more likely to respond because they're only seeing deals that are relevant to them. So it's not that there are no legitimate fundraising facilitators and placement agents out there, but you really need to do a lot of digging through the crap to get to the gold. Another red flag that I addressed earlier as well is absurd valuations. So when you've been talking to other investors or advisors, you will quickly develop a good sense of at least the ballpark of where your valuation should be. Right? We could quibble about whether it's 2 million or 4 million, but there's no debate, it isn't 20 million. So when someone comes in with a number that is a multiple, a large multiple of what you sort of already know your business is worth, run for it. Right? It always suggests to me that they're being unrealistic, they're going for that big success fee, they're probably locking you up with exclusivity, all sorts of things come along with it. So make sure that you already know what you're worth and then look out for those people. Some people come in with realism, but it seems like there's a real pattern of stupidly high numbers coming out. And finally, bottom feeders. People who will work with literally anyone tarnish your reputation. And so give them a little test. Make sure that they are evaluating you, asking hard questions. See that they say no to some people, right? If they're saying yes to everyone who comes through the door, they're pushing crap out to all their investors. It makes you look bad, right? You lie down with dogs, you get up with fleas. If you are associated with these kind of businesses, it sort of leaves a miasma around your company that you don't want to have. Make sure you're associating up. Work with people who have high standards for you and their investors and only broker deals in which they have high confidence. Thanks for watching this episode. I hope you found it useful and interesting. And if so, please do the usual. Like, subscribe, ring that bell. Share this content with other founders. I am trying to help as many founders as I possibly can. Go to Feel the Boot and sign up for boot prints. That makes sure you know about all the new episodes coming out, as well as giving you access to my free office hours. If you're in the middle of fundraising and in this sort of dark well of the soul's time period, I encourage you to go take a look at the episode on the fundraising paradox, because that's probably exactly where you are, and hopefully you'll get some good guidance on how to cut through that knot when you're trying to get your company past that point. And until next time, ciao.